how are you? Oh my goodness. This is like the third video in a row that um have caught me fixing my hair. Just my curls are just crazy and they just do not like to do anything I ask them to do. So thanks for your patience and understanding. Oh my goodness, it's so silly. Anyway, I welcome to Level Up Your English with that Kathleen Elise. And I'm just super glad to have you here today. Today, we're going to be talking about, we're going to be taking a look at really how to improve your writing in English. And we're not going to be focusing on grammar. This is, there's plenty of places where you can get the help you need on grammar. Please ask me grammar questions if you have them. That's not a problem. But what I want to talk about is the areas of writing English or the aspects of writing English that most people just don't think of, even native speakers. So before we do that, though, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to hit the notifications button, bell, whatever it happens to be for you, and just so that you don't miss out on the upcoming videos. And again, I do these live so that you have a place to come to get your questions answered. You know, every week that you can come here twice a day and ask your questions. So, every Monday, this is my second one today. So I go live at midnight, which is 12 a.m. So when Sunday turns into Monday, I go live, and then I go live now at noontime Eastern time, so that somewhere around the world it's at a part in your day where you can actually just take a minute, well, 30, sometimes a little more, but you can just take some time at a transitional time in your day. That's what I'm hoping it hits for you, so that you can just get some help and not have to struggle. And I go live on Mondays so that you can start your week with some success, because who doesn't want success in their week? And that's just such a great way to get started. So, speaking of getting started, let's get going. I do actually encourage you to watch the midnight one and always watch the two for the day, because although generally I cover the same, I definitely cover the same topic and I go over the same points. There's been at least two, maybe more, days where when I talked about it live at midnight, it either I didn't get to finish everything I wanted to say, or I discovered that there's a whole other side of this topic that needs to be discussed. And so I've then added to that. So it ended up becoming a two-part series. And so always go back and watch whichever one you didn't get to see, and then obviously watch the other ones and like them. Let me know what you think. Comment on these, because I can talk till, as we say, till the cows come home. But if it's not helping you, if I'm not getting feedback, I don't know if I'm helping you or not. So please make sure you tell me what this did for you. If you learned something, what you learned from it. What was your favorite thing that you learned? Or what was the most surprising thing that you learned? Or, maybe you didn't get anything from it. I need to know that too, because I want to make sure that our time together, again, I'm trying to make it short so it fits into your day and it doesn't have to, it doesn't have to take up your whole life. But I want this to be super valuable to you. So you have to let me know. You have to talk to me. So, all right. So I have 4 things I want to cover today. And I think the first 2 definitely took up the most time in the first video. And so I think which left it so that I didn't get to really focus on the third and fourth ones. The fourth one particularly. So I'm going to go through them. I'm going to try to spend more time on the third and fourth item, though. So go back and watch the first show of the day. So the first thing I talked about, and it's so important to really make this a part of your life when you're learning any language, um, but English particularly, and languages that have um, a depth to them. And by that I mean, all right, let's talk about number three first. So English, I'm going to do these mixed up today. English is a language that has that embraces the concept of nuance. And nuance, as I find the best way to explain nuance to those who are not familiar with it, is to think about a painting. Okay, so you have your palette of colors laid out in front of you. You have them, all spread out here. So, but you don't have every single color that there is. You have blobs of basic colors. Okay, so those blobs of basic colors are your um, general vocabulary, your survival vocabulary, I suppose, and then a few other extras that you've learned along the way. In order to make the painting, so if you I'm just looking here, if you were to paint this frame, you're not just going to do blue and white and brown and maybe touches of red or orange. Okay, you're going to have to do, there's all sorts of different shadings and colorings in here. So you're going to have to take what's on your palette and you're going to have to mix them up in different combinations, different strengths. You might have a blob of a dark blue here, but you might need to lighten it up. This sweater is a brighter, lighter blue than just the navy on my glasses. So you're going to have to add some white, and you're going to have to add some other colors to that blue to get it to be the right shade. And this blue is different than the blue on my shirt. So you're going to have to add different combinations of other colors to get this blue. And my face, my skin tone, my eyes, my hair, they're not just blobs of one color, they're mixed and blended. And so that's what nuance is. And nuance in language is made through the words that you use. Okay, so learn to be comfortable with nuance. If you don't have that in your language, and let me know in the comments what language you speak and whether you're familiar with the concept of nuance. I've obviously just take it for granted. I had no idea that there were languages and cultures out there who conveyed the different things that I convey with words. Well, other languages, you have to understand the context of the situation in order to know what the words mean. So I suppose that nuance happens situationally versus with the words that you say or use. So I just took that for granted. So let me know what language you speak and whether you're familiar with nuance. Because again, the more I know about you who are coming to watch and learn from me, the better I can be of help to you. The more help I can be, the more value I can give you. So talk to me. Okay, so nuance, we're learning different words add different levels of meaning and understanding and feeling to, by using a certain word versus another word that might be similar, you could say the same thing, but you can change the feeling, you can change the tone, you can change it from being, soft and kind to being angry and yelling at you. It can change significantly. So it's important to get familiar with excuse me it's important to get familiar with nuance, okay? So now we're going to go to the first thing that I was going to talk about, and that is increasing your vocabulary. And not just adding more words, okay? My explanation of how to help you understand how unbelievably important it is for your fluency and for your ability to communicate in English, certainly. I think it makes sense in any language, but certainly for English, is to think of your vocabulary as a bank. Okay, you have this whole building devoted just to your vocabulary. All right. Every word that you learn, every word that you take into yourself from your language, you're making a deposit in your vocabulary bank. Okay, you're adding this source of currency. Okay, because language is currency. All right, let's face it. If you can't communicate, if you have no language, you cannot connect with other people. You cannot communicate. So every word that you're putting into your bank, you are depositing value. All right. Now, these words are there forever. You can take them out as many times as you want, but they never actually leave your bank. You use them, but you're never removing them from your bank. So you always have that initial value. The wonderful thing about the vocabulary bank is that the more you use that currency, the more you use your words, and then the more value they bring to you. All right. Now, like any bank, the more words you deposit, the more pieces of currency that you add to it, your value naturally increases. However, every time you make a deposit, you're exponentially expanding the value that those words have for you. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I have explained it in other videos and things. So if this didn't make sense, you'll find a similar explanation elsewhere. Again, it's live, and so new things come to my mind, and new ways of explaining things come to my mind. So there's an understanding out there for you. So let's just take. Sorry, I should have pulled this out sooner. My trusty little dictionary. So, all right. So here's a task I want you to do. So for this, the reason I want you to I've lost my words. They've left me. Oh no, what am I gonna do? So with English, because of nuance, which we just talked about, you can have one word that has many different meanings. Those meanings can each have their own synonyms. We call them synonyms, words that mean pretty much the same thing. They're different words, but they mean pretty much the same thing. So each one of those definitions is going to have some synonyms, and those synonyms are going to have opposites or antonyms, so things that mean the opposite. So what I want you to do is just take one word a day, just one word every day. So 7 words this week. So Monday, you should have 7 new words, 7 new basic words, okay? From that, I want you to, I'm just opening the book up. All right, so here we have the word protest, Protest, protest. And it tells you that it's a noun, and it gives you the International Phonetic Alphabet so you can know how to pronounce it. And it means a statement or action indicating disapproval. All right. So that's the basic definition. And then it has to express disapproval. That's one. And the second one is to declare firmly. So that's a little different. So if you're, where is it? The first one, express disapproval. That's a protest. There's people protesting all over the world right now in disapproval of things that are happening in the world. The other thing is that you can, if you're declaring firmly, okay, so in a courtroom, people can say, I protest, I disagree with that. Okay, but that act of protesting, how do I explain that? Um, I've lost my train of thought. There is a slight difference, and I apologize that I completely lost it. But it doesn't have to be about. It is mainly about disagreeing with something, but you can use it. You can use it, and there's a slight difference. And I'm so sorry that I lost it. But let's move on, and hopefully it will come back to me. So from that, I'm just going to try to show you the word. Where is it? It's right here. So you have protest. You're probably not going to be able to read this, but you have the noun and the pronunciation and then the basic definition. So then here you have one definition and then the second definition. So then under that you have all these other words, and these are all synonyms, and they're matched with either definition 1 or definition 2. All right? So some of those synonyms are complaint, demur, expostulation, and a colloquialism is to gripe. And colloquialism is a kind of slang, or commonly used alternatives to it. It's not 100% slang, but it's just a more common way of saying it. So to gripe, or to grouse, or to grumble, objection, outcry, protestation, remonstrate. And then that's when it's used as a noun. When it's used as a verb, again, complain. So the verb is to complain. The noun is a complaint. So you can see the difference there. And then again, you have demur, expostulate, grumble, kick up, to kick up a fuss. So think of someone being dragged away and they're kicking their heels, like a little child. To kick up, make a fuss, object, remonstrate. And then the second definition of to declare firmly, those synonyms are affirm, assert, declare, maintain, or profess. So I profess my undying love for the English language. That can also, you could also use the word protest. I protest my undying love for the English language. So, but you can see how, and remonstrate is to, it's a scolding in a sense. It's, oh, I'm remonstrating with you now. You shouldn't say that, or whatever. That's a remonstration. And so you can also use protest in there, or to protest. But what I want you to do, so you can see how each of these words has a different feeling, a different emotion. And I say this all the time. Nuance and synonyms and antonyms, they look at the same topic, the same item, I guess, from different viewpoints, okay, and at different levels. Some look at things from high above. So if you have more formal language, or more lofty intellectual language, it looks at it from here. But colloquialisms and slang and things like that look at it from really close, more everyday common viewpoint here. And so you can see, just think of a sphere, think of the globe, think of anything that has all of these different views to it. That's what nuance is, and that's what all of these words do. And so elevating your writing, the deeper you go into a particular word and the more you understand it at that deeper level, the better you will be able to be at using it, the more effectively you will be able to communicate, because you will have all of these different understandings of a topic, a word. You'll have a really, you'll become familiar with all the layers, all the levels, all of the ways you can use it. So you can use it in a way that nobody else around you is going to be using it. Okay, because let's face it, our lives are so busy. We tend to go with what's familiar, with what's worked in the past, and we really don't go beyond, the standard things that are going to work. Okay. So everybody's the same, nobody really thinks. But if you start using words that, oh, wow, that was really interesting. What did you have to say? People are going to stand when you're speaking or when you're writing. I'm pointing at my notebook here in case you did this. Or when you're speaking or you're writing and you're using language that shocks people out of the monotony of role, and you start bringing them in deeper into your conversation, just through your words, you're going to be drawing them deeper inside your message. And that's absolutely going to be a game changer, as we say, with your writing in English. Okay. Not just your speaking, but your writing as well. So the task I have, which has taken me a little bit to get to, is I want you to look up not only the word, and I want you to get familiar with the correct way to say it. And if you're having trouble with how to say a word, if you have questions, ask me in the comments, ask me in the chat, ask me in the comments. And I will do videos on these. I'll do shorts and I'll put them up on the channel, or maybe I can gather them all together and I can just do a live about that as well. But then once you've gotten familiar with the word itself and its definition, and you've gone through the other definitions, I want you to go through each of, or if there's a bunch and you don't have a lot of time, just go through 5 of the synonyms, and if it has antonyms, 5 antonyms, and look those up and see the difference. Because you might use protest, in your writing, and that's good enough, but you don't want to settle for good enough, because you want to elevate, you want to level up your English, you want to advance your fluency. So you say, wait a minute, protests. Let's see. Okay, so it means to express disapproval, which is what I want to do. I want to express my disapproval here. But what else can I use? Okay, so complaint. So let's look up complaint and see what that has to say. Complaint, cause of dissatisfaction or illness. So if you're sick, you can say, oh, I've been complaining about a sore stomach or something like that. So that's a complaint. So complaint, cause of dissatisfaction, which is what you want to say. So that's definition 1. So the first synonym is a beef. So that's slang. It's to have a beef with someone. I've got a beef with you. I'm not sure where that came from, and I will I'll have to look that up. I don't know why they say that. It's odd, but it's what I've just known, because that's what I grew up with. So maybe you have a beef with someone. So maybe this is less formal of writing, and you really want to make sure that they understand this is serious. And sometimes the informal language gets your point across better. So you just want to, if you said to someone, I protest what you're saying. Well, that's not everyday usage. Just that sentence, if that's how you approached it, that's not everyday language. And so you're not going to sound fluent, because you're not using it as people naturally would. It's not a natural way to say it. So if you want to sound more fluent, you can say, I really have a beef with you and I'd like to straighten this out. So people are going to understand beef and say, ooh, what did I do wrong? You know, that sets the American English mind. Um, oh, that wakes us up and says, oh, what did I do? You have a beef with me? Oh, that's not good. So do you see how switching the word can really make your writing stand out and get your message across the way you need it to? So you might be able to say, you know, what you're saying. I want to protest your point of view here. If it's a more formal situation, more formal writing, that's it's a politer way of saying, of still getting your message across. I don't agree with what you're saying. I'm protesting. Can we talk about this? So that's more polite, has a different tone than I've got a beef with you about this, and I want to, we need to talk. So you can see, so that's the nuance, and that's the wonder and the joy of learning the language, learning the English language. So then there's others, you could go through demure. Demure it's not commonly used. But like we talk about women being demure. Let me get the definition, because there's so many words that you've just grown up with and you know internally what they mean, but then you go to try to describe it. You have no idea how to describe it. So let us try to open my page. It's right in between two. Demure, raise objections, objection raised. So okay, so here's another thing. So the demure that I spoke about has an E on the end. So it's a different word. Sounds the same, but it's a different word, and it's spelled just one letter different, changes it completely. So demure, D-E-M-U-R, which is to protest. That definition, to raise objections. If you use it as a verb, if you use it as a noun, it means objection raised. So you wouldn't demure in that sense, D-E-M-U-R, would probably mostly be used in the courtroom or in, government meetings, like, the House of Representatives or Congress, or, the mayor's office, meetings like that have more of a tradition behind them. So, and the traditions started out with the older language of our founding fathers, and they carried on. So even today, much of that language is used in certain ceremonies, certain, if you're introducing a bill to the House of Representatives or wherever, there's formal language that you have to say, and that word DEMUR would be more fitting in that kind of a setting, or as I said, in the courtroom. So again, you'd have to know what your goal is for your writing and what are the best words to use that to fit the circumstances and your goal, and how is it going to be perceived. So anyway, but DEMURE is an adjective. It's still pronounced demure, but it means quiet and modest, or it means coy. Okay, so again, there you go. See, we started with one word. We looked up its a synonym for it, and then we found out, oh my goodness, there's another word that's similar. So this can go. And now I'm realizing I have spent and I'm still basically using the So just make sure that you learn 7 new words this week using that strategy, okay? And do it that way. Give yourself those extra few minutes to go a little deeper into the work. Um, and you will be amazed at how much better your writing is. And so my suggestion here, I'm just going to quickly see, I didn't even get to number 4, which I really wanted to do. Quickly go over these and then I'll get back to. Uh, I'm not even going to finish my sentences today. So the first one is to increase your vocabulary bank balance. Definitely do that the way we just talked about it. The second one is think in English. Do not compose your messages, your written messages, any messages, but if you're writing, do not compose them in your language and then translate, or do not try to think it out in your head and think which word. Think in English. Think in English for several reasons. Number one, so many times um, there are expressions that you use in your native language that don't have a good translation. They don't translate well into English and into the English mindset, the English culture, etc. So you're never really going to find an equivalent. So you need to think from the English mindset, how do I get this across? What are they going to understand? Why speech and writing came into place in the first place, because people had to agree that, okay, this sound means this idea, and these sounds together mean that idea. So you see where that can go wrong. So think in English when you're composing, and I do this all the time, and it's why my Korean journal has completely stalled, because I haven't uh I'm not at that point yet where I can think in the Korean mindset, in the Korean language. I'm not there yet. Um, so I practice my sentences, and I try to do it in small pieces, and I'm building my vocabulary and trying to get better at my grammar, things like that. So think in English. And then the third thing is to learn to become familiar and just embrace nuance. You're going to love it if you don't have it, if you've never used it before and you start using it and get familiar with it, you're going to love it. Because there's so many ways you can express yourself that you never had at your disposal before. And then the fourth one is to use the storytelling structure. So there are many different structures of telling a story depending on the type of story that you're trying to tell. And even if you're writing an email, okay, if you're writing a text, some things are just too short to deal with the storytelling structure, but um, get familiar with how to tell stories, because if you're writing an email to a client, or even to a coworker, or to your manager, to whomever, you need, especially in the business world, you need to grab their attention. You need to, in the American business world, you need to tell them why you're writing. So that's your introduction, just the classic story structure. You have your exposition, which means you're exposing what the story is, what the need is, the journey. So you're basically explaining briefly. And then you have your rising action. You're building up to the point that you need to make, the thing that you really need, the climax of the story. And then you gently wind it down to your conclusion. So you're drawing people in, not only with the words that you're using and the way that you're using them, but you're drawing them in with this whole storytelling flow, this ebb and flow, and it's building people up and revealing what the essence of the message, and then you're letting them down. And by the time they're done with your email, once you learn how to do this, they're just going to be screaming for more, 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 more. I love reading what you have to write. So just do an internet search on storytelling structure, and you'll see different kinds. I wouldn't suggest using the tragic storytelling structure. You don't want to end in catastrophe, unless that's needed. But there's just so many, and depending on the length of your piece, um, that will help you determine which one to use. If you have more time to draw something out, you might want to use the hero's journey structure. There's 12 different parts to that. Um, but anyway, that's critical. So just, I did lose my thought. What was I going to say? Um, well, at any rate, yeah. Oh, on the nuance though, don't go crazy. So you want to learn to be able to choose the right words. Oh, now I remember the other thing. You want to choose the right word for the job, but you also want to keep it simple. And especially when you're writing for an American audience, you want to keep it straightforward, clear. So don't make the mistake of using big words, words that you think sound super intelligent, just to put them in there to make yourself sound super intelligent, because that's going to have the opposite effect. People thinking audience is going to see right through it, um, lose that you'll be noticed for the wrong reasons, and I don't want that for you. So it's another reason why you have to really know your words. And these are easy ways to do. They might take a bit of work to begin with, and that brings me back to the thing I was thinking of. When you're looking at your email, I suggest take an email that's you've already written and it's gone and been sent, and copy it a couple of times, bring it home, and look at the reaction that you got, and say, is that the reaction I expected? And if it is, great. If it's not, how could I have fixed that? Now, knowing what I know now, what can I do to write a better email so that I would get my message across to elicit the anticipated response? And then rewrite it and keep practicing with that until you're, get feedback and everything. Um, and that's going to help you write better, so that then when you're comfortable doing that process, I don't suggest doing it right away, because you do need to work with it. But once you're comfortable, then start using it on for real in real life, and see how much better you get your message across, and how much more easily you're able to communicate, and you're going to feel more fluent. I know it. I know you will feel more fluent, because you will be more fluent. Okay. All right. So this went long, but it's important stuff, and it's foundational stuff. And it's stuff that even native speakers don't think about. In general, again, we're so busy. We go with what works. We don't think we have the time to go any further. But you're just starting out, so why not start out strong, okay? And start out solid. So, all right, great to see you today. I'm super glad you were here. And even after the live, if you're watching the replay, just put your comments in the chat, put your questions in the comments, let me know anything and everything you want to tell me about these lives, okay? All right. And if you want to put your examples of befores and afters, put them in. I'll give you feedback. That's why I'm here. All right. I hope you have a great day. We'll definitely see you next week, okay? All right. Bye-bye.